All in Sports Network. We love sports.
Coming to you from the land of brisket and barbecue, Lone Stars and Longhorns, this is All In Colts presented by the Unstable Blues.
Welcome back in. We are here to finish off our conversation about NFL expansion from yesterday. In this episode, we will focus more on realignment and how to schedule based on our potential expansion teams we talked about yesterday. So let's go All In Colts.
That's correct. I'm Kevin. This is my son Liam. We're the Unstable Blues. Happy to present All In Colts as part of the Rogue Media Sports Network.
Yes. First things first. We got to point it out.
Yep.
Geographically,
Yep.
Colts do not belong in the South.
Right. That's pretty much where this
a northern team.
Right. That's pretty much where this whole thing started from.
Yes. We did this back
a couple of years ago.
3 years ago. At the very start of our podcast.
Yeah. So that's kind of the overarching motivation behind this is the Colts don't belong in their current division, so let's restructure it. And then put the 18-game schedule and a potential expansion into it, and we came up with what we think works. So we have some differing opinions. Why don't you start with where you think it should go, and then I will run through my whole structure at the end. Go for it.
Sounds good. So, for me,
we laid out teams. Do you have potential expansion teams you're throwing in there?
Yeah, I do. I think the three that I would specifically go for is San Antonio. I think that has to be there. Salt Lake City, which is my top two. And then I think just because of population alone, honestly, I think San Diego has to be in there as well.
Okay. All right.
Two widely forgotten about U.S. cities, and then one that's doesn't have much sports, but I think it would bring a lot of culture to it. So those are my three teams to make it 35. I don't think they're
35. How does that work?
30. What do you mean?
How does 35 work mathematically?
Oh, wait, I'm confused now. Hold on.
That's what I said.
Yes. And I said differently. No. I put 4. That's right.
Okay.
I included my Honolulu team.
Okay.
Just because I thought it would be fun.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so I still had AFC, NFC. I didn't have necessarily region based because I feel like if you do West and East, there's obviously so many East teams. So there are teams, Central America or even more Eastern America that are traveling Western to face these Western teams. And if you split up North and South, it's kind of weird too, because there's a lot of North teams.
Yep.
And not very many South teams whenever it comes down to it. So I still stuck with the AFC, NFC. I didn't lay out each individual team in each thing. So you can kind of spread that how you please. You could go with a more Western approach, more Eastern approach, but I feel like that's kind of hard to do. But I'm going more of a NBA approach on it. In yesterday's episode, I talked about how the NBA atmosphere is better. This is one of the ways. They have a Eastern and a Western conference. Just do 2 conferences because stuff like the NFC South, you're having a team come out of it. It's not always the greatest division. Same with AFC South, AFC West sometimes. All these divisions that don't always produce the greatest teams each year and year in, year out, like you can expect out of the AFC North or an AFC East or something like that. So you just have the top teams from each thing. And in my opinion, so what I said 36, so that's 18 teams per. I think the top 8 come out of that. It's the same type of team, same type of thing that is now with 7 coming out of 16. So there's 9 left, and then 8 coming out of 18. So there's 10 left. So same type of thing. You got to work extra hard. It's not just the top 50% that go into that.
Okay.
You got to work hard, and you can't just be a 500 team to get in. You have to play good football to be in there. I don't know exactly how the scheduling would work, once again, because the conference thing is weird. In the NBA, you don't play many other teams than what's in your conference. You play your conference teams a lot. You do play other teams, though. So I think the majority of your games should be conference play. But you don't have to play every single team in your conference, if that makes sense. So then, it's fun whenever it comes down to tiebreakers and stuff like that. So that, like, if you don't have a head-to-head against them, it's okay. Like opponents, points against, all that stuff. It comes down to that still. And it's not just head-to-head every single time. Because if you won an 18-game schedule and there's 18 teams in a conference, then at least one team that you're playing for the other conference, which isn't the funnest. It's not great. So I'd say more of you play 10 from your conference, and then you play 8 from the other conference. Kind of see how you stack up that way. I think that would be pretty fair, fun to watch. And then whenever it comes, like, I don't have the exact teams per AFC, NFC, but I do, like, for example, stuff like that AFC North. I don't know if you can split that up because everybody hates everybody in the AFC North.
Right.
Yeah, like, I don't know. There are things like that, like rivalries that you cannot split up. I think talked about it in yesterday's episode. The Niners, Cowboys have to be in the same. I think the Patriots, Colts have to be in
Okay.
the same because of just the moments that it brings. All that stuff that comes along with it. So that that's the scheduling aspect. What teams
Yep.
I chose to add, and then what teams are each. I
What's
feel like I'm missing something.
what's that do to the in an 18 game schedule? How do they all stack down, stack up?
Right. Okay.
What's the rotation of play? And then what does that do to the playoffs?
Playoffs. Okay, so to get into the playoffs, you got to be top 8 in your conference, and that's all you got to worry about. Tiebreakers and all that, yes, you got to worry about that, but you have to worry about strictly your conference. There's no wild card, no nothing like that. If you are the best team in your conference, you get the number 1 seed.
All right.
Doesn't mean you get a bye, though. I hate buys. Get them out of here. I said 8 people per thing because March Madness does this really well. So a lot of people are like, 68 teams. No, it's 64. The first 4 are games, not actual games. On your electronic bracket, you do not fill out a first 4. We just do it in our family because that's just the thing we do. It's a half point, which could matter.
It can.
But it's 64. It's even by, if you want to go down to it 2. I like to go into 4s, though. 4 is a very even playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, college football playoffs. It's 4. The best, but divisibles of 4 are very easy, my liking, very easy to do. The number 1 seed faces the 8 seed, and they get home field advantage, which kind of creates something sort of like, I don't know, kind of like March Madness, where upsets could happen because teams aren't getting a full extra week of rest. I feel like that's such a problem with the league nowadays. There's a bias of people getting so much extra rest. So it's almost impossible because you're getting home field advantage and rest. So you got to go into their stadium whenever you're tired from playing games back, because there's no breaks between the playoffs and the regular season. You just go right into it like it's another game. So there's no breaks for those teams. They're beat up. If they are injured, they are not getting healthy.
Right.
That's what the Pro Bowls are for the Super Bowl, So the number 1 faces number 8. Only thing that the higher seed gets is the home field advantage. And I think that creates for more opportunity of a division, or not division since they're split up, for a rivalry to take place. Because let's say Pittsburgh, for example, got the 3 seed, but the Bengals can't it's hard for them to get 5 seed because realistically, teams this year was different with the Lions and Vikings because both of them were so dominant. But this year, I mean, most years you don't have two teams that are that dominant from the same division.
Right.
So that doesn't happen as often. You don't have division rivals playing as often unless they both get deep in the playoffs.
Yep.
So you have more of a chance for rivals to play each other in playoffs early on. Create that chippiness that us as fans, or me at least, I like the chippiness. So yes. Is there anything else I am forgetting, or is that it?
I think that's it.
Okay.
I mean,
Gotcha.
18 game schedule, how
Yeah,
would they?
18 game schedule. Yeah.
So
So
you have what, 18 per conference?
yeah,
So
18 per conference.
are you just
I had
playing-
originally said 10 from your own conference and 8, but I forgot that leaves no bye weeks. Or
Well, no, it's
18 game schedule.
Yeah.
So not
Yeah.
18 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the goal with this would be, I think in all reality, you have, I've called for this for a while. There needs to be 2 buys.
Yep.
I think you have the buys throughout the season, and then I think you have your normal buys and all that, and then I think right smack dab in the middle of the season, you have a buy. I think that's what it should be now, but it's not. So I'm saying with this 18 game schedule, not only do you have 2 buys, you have 3. You have 1 just like a normal buy. And if that so happens falls towards the middle of the season, then you get 2 off weeks in a row. Okay, cool. I guess you're unlucky or lucky, whichever way you want to slice that cake. And then you have your bye exactly in the middle of the which means no football for a week, but we can survive as fans. It's fine. It's good for the players. We are taking this from a player standpoint.
Yep.
And then at the end of the season, I think since you earned your spot in the playoffs, you have a week off, no football once again for anyone, and then you get the playoffs. And
So you said no bye week for the playoffs, but everybody gets a bye week.
yes,
Okay.
beforehand.
Gotcha.
Everyone gets the same bye week, no football going on. And I think with the new college football playoffs, that would actually align pretty close with the championship. So it could be all college football then.
I like that.
So
like
it kind of lines
idea.
up easy with that, because that is a problem nowadays too.
Yeah.
The championship was on a Monday, which
Right.
I was already not fond of. I think it should be Saturday, because Saturday is college football days.
Yeah.
I do not see NFL on Saturdays. I see college football on Saturdays. So I think that should already have its own weekend because it is a massive deal. And college fans are so devoted to their teams and stuff. So I think it kind of lines up pretty evenly with that as well. So
Gotcha. Okay. I'm going to go first off with your bye thing. I'm going to say 18 game schedule, 20 weeks with 2 bye weeks. So 20-week schedule. I'm going to say, because the league has 4 straight games and I think 3 straight games at the end with no buys, right? So they put all the buys in the middle. Why don't you, as a league, say,
is it 3? I think it's 4. It's 4 and 4, I think.
Okay.
Because of the
yes.
I only know that because of fantasy.
Week 14
I only know that because of fantasy. Yeah.
Colts had the late one to 14, so then there's 17, 18, or
15, 16, 17.
18 weeks,
18 weeks
with
right.
a bye. 17. Right. Okay. So regardless, there's 20 weeks. Divide the season as best as you can into thirds, right?
Okay.
And make your bye weeks have 3 options for bye weeks within a 3-week period around that middle third, 6-ish, 7-ish. So week 6, 7, 8, all teams take a bye within that, right? And then same thing between the last third. Right?
And it means less football, but
it means
it's better
you got
for
lighter
the players.
weeks, but you don't have a week off totally. So there's still some games, but everybody kind of has an even-ish bye schedule. Does that make sense? So you don't have these teams that are going like the Colts, long stretch before their late bye, or early bye and then a long stretch, right? So, and then other teams are like smack dab in the middle. Great, awesome. That's perfect for them. But what about everybody else? So it evens things up. Okay. Now to my realignment. Realignment is a hot button in college football. Okay. So, but in that you've lost some of the rivalry aspect, right? And yes, you mentioned some rivalries that already exist, but I believe that some of those still can exist outside of a division or a conference, but also new ones formed because of how it is realigned. And that is, once again, going off of the Colts, everything more regional. Okay. So,
So in turn, that would mean more fans more opposing fans in the. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Which creates more rivalry, which creates more like, I'm not going to resell my tickets. Not a chance. I'm going to every single game, and my tickets are my tickets, and I'm not going to resell them because I don't know whose hands they're going to end up in, all this kind of stuff, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's start with the expansion teams that I threw in there. I put in Portland and Salt Lake City and San Antonio. That's where I went with it. St. Louis makes a great case. I just didn't see it working the way that I saw it working. Okay, so let's start with where it currently is weak in the West. In the West, you have LA Rams, LA Chargers. Yes, they share the same stadium. Don't care. Just went for it. San Francisco, Seattle, and Portland, all in the West Division. Oh, hold up a second. Let me back up. Yes, I put 3 teams in there. You know what that means? There's now 35 teams in the league.
Yes.
Which is not an even number.
No.
It's not divisible by 4. It's not divisible by 2. How do you do it? You forget that the AFC and the NFC exist because that is an antiquated system that refers back to the AFL and the NFL, which is a very, very old system. We don't need it. Don't need it at all. All you need is divisions. So I have 7 regional divisions of 5. So
Okay.
Rams, Chargers, Niners, Seahawks, and whatever Portland's mascot is.
Want to pick one up on the spot?
I mean, some Mountaineers.
Okay, there you go. Copying West Virginia, but that's fine.
But listen, I mean, there's mountains. There's mountains in West Virginia, but they're real mountains out in Portland. So, or in Oregon. So, and then I have, so that's the West. Now I have my desert division, I'm calling it. And that would be the Arizona Cardinals and whatever Salt Lake City would be. Be another mountain thing, but
Salt Lake City Mormons. Yeah.
My bad, so many places. I'm just gonna hold back. I'm gonna hold back and not say anything that I shouldn't say here.
Don't say
I'm gonna say maybe the blizzards. Okay. Because like snow and stuff and skiing and all that out there. Okay. The Broncos, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the San Antonio Tumbleweeds. I don't know. That's a terrible mascot. It's a terrible mascot. But I mean, I'm just trying to think of what else would be in San Antonio. It's the sandstorms.
Sandstorms.
I mean, they'd already have a theme song. Okay. I don't know if I can sing anymore and not get copyrighted. Okay. And then I have my Central Division. This would be Houston, the Cowboys, the Titans, the Chiefs, and the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay.
So keep some of the AFC South, but then we're in the same division as the Chiefs and the
You know,
Cowboys.
the Mahomes has the worst record against the Colts.
That's right.
If
The,
if we're talking strictly regular season,
mhm.
Mahomes is 0-2.
Yep.
It is the only team that he has not beat.
Yep. The Colts are the only hope for the AFC.
Yes.
Okay, and then I have my North Division, and that would be the Vikings, the Packers, the Bears, the Lions, and I'm going to throw in the Browns. Those seem like good teams to keep together in the North and in that region. I know the Browns may be a little sad that they're not with their current mates, but I think it'll work out the way I've got the schedule going. And then I have the Southeast Division. That would be the Saints, the Dolphins, the Bucks, the Falcons, and the Jaguars. So 3 Florida teams and another Gulf team and Atlanta. So,
Yes.
and then I have my East Division. That would be the Bengals, the Panthers, the Commandos, the Ravens, and the Steelers, because I could not split up the Ravens and the Steelers and the Bengals. I had to leave those 3 together. So,
yes.
And then I have, and I know the old school Commandos fans are going to be disappointed because they're not with their mates as well. Once again, the other defense of this is not only the Colts are not in the South, but also the Cowboys are not in the East. So those are the 2 major teams that should not be where they are. And now they're in the same division. And then finally, the Northeast Division. This is a fun one too. 2 teams again that share a stadium: the Giants and the Jets, and the Bills, the Patriots, and throwing in the Eagles here. I think those that's a good one there.
Kind of meshes well there.
How's that shake down? Well, let me break this down. How a 35 team 7 divisions of 5 breaks down in an 18 game schedule starting Labor Day weekend with 2 bye weeks that results in the Super Bowl falling on the Sunday before President's Day. So that means the day after the Super Bowl is a holiday and a day off. You're welcome. How this works schedule-wise, each team would play the other team from their division twice. That's 8 total games, just like they do now. Okay? But 1 extra team in the division. Then they play the same seed as the previous season finished from each other division. Does that make sense? Kind of like they do now, where you play if you finish 3rd in the division, you play the other teams that finish 3rd in their division. Okay? Right. You do that for the other remaining divisions. That's 6 more games. And then you play all the rest of one other division on a rotation, just kind of like they do now, right? And that would be, since you've already played the people in the same finishing, that's 4 other games from that division, right? Guess what? That's 18 games.
I like it.
Okay.
It sounds good to me so far.
Playoffs. Yes, Jim Mora. Playoffs. I believe how I had this working. I didn't write it out, but I think how this works is 7 divisions, top seeds. You finish top in division, you're in there. You could then say, keep it the exact same with 7 teams, right? 7 teams times 2, and you just go the top 2 from every. I didn't do that. If you finish top of your division, cool, awesome. You're in. You're locked. Doesn't mean you get a top seed, but you're in. And then the 7 best remaining records and or tiebreakers. Okay. So you're fighting for the top of your division, right? Because you know that's a guarantee. But other than that, you still have to keep up with everybody else because you got to have the top. So you could feasibly have a ton of people from one division if you have a stacked division, you know?
Yes.
So,
but with that top seed, doesn't that theoretically mean we could still have a NFC South problem?
But the big problem here is, like, if you have a terrible division, only one team would get in from that division. But I didn't say that they would be seeded at the top, so they wouldn't necessarily get a home game. Okay. I would seed them according to record and tiebreakers.
I also think the NFC South problem is a problem, and it's called the NFC South problem for a reason, because those 4 teams are not the greatest.
It's true.
Considering that not all of them are in the same division, I think it works out better.
There's also a potential problem that your division is beating up on each other. That it's tight enough that it's beating up on each other, which happens sometimes in the AFC North, you know?
Yes. Yeah. So
there are, and then when you add one more team into the division, and now you're playing each of those, that's 8, almost half of your schedule now. That's a potential issue, you know? But it also creates more of a need to win these games because the division is worth a guarantee, as it is already. But yeah, I mean, half of the playoffs are going to be guarantees in a 7 division thing.
Yeah.
But everything else is not a guarantee. So right. I think that's how I had it shaken down. So
okay, I like it. Makes sense.
Yep. Well, you know what? That is going to be it for this week. We'll be back next week as we look toward the Super Bowl. We will recap the Pro Bowl activities and have another edition of the Off-Season Colts Corner. We'll also have our final unstable pick 6 as we also predict the NFL honors. And we will, of course, preview the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles again.
Yep. This is Liam.
And this is Kevin.
Reminding you to stay all in Colts.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.